Howdy, folks. I'm magnetic mashed potatoes, mystically mesmerizing, melodramatic melons.
I'm Amber.
And here are more melodramatic melons for us to mesmerize because who hasn't had their favorite dish for Thanksgiving? Mashed potato and melons. Let's get started.
That does not sound appealing at all.
Alright, folks, and our first letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Firing My Assistant After She Used Company Money to Throw Herself a Farewell Party but didn't actually quit? So I'm a 28-year-old female and I own a mid-sized tech consulting firm and recently hired a new assistant, Lily, a 26-year-old female, a few months ago. She seemed competent, though she had a quirky personality and sometimes blurred professional lines. Last week, while I was out of town for a conference and while I was away, Lily emailed everyone in the company announcing that she was leaving to pursue new horizons, and she threw herself a massive farewell party at the office. She used the company credit card to order catering, decorations, custom cake, and even arranged for a bartender to set up drink station in the break room. The total was about $2,000. When I came back, I was shocked. Not only did I never receive a resignation from her, but she also hadn't actually quit. When I confronted her, she said that she was testing how much people appreciated her and wanted to see if anyone would convince her to stay. And so she called it a social experiment. I was furious, and I fired her on the spot for misuse of company funds and deceptive behavior. Now she's blowing up on social media, claiming that I'm a soulless boss who has no respect for mental health and personal exploration. She says that I should have appreciated her creative way of bonding with the team. Some friends are telling me that I might have overreached and that maybe I should have just docked her pay or given her a warning instead. I'm torn because I do value my employees, but this felt like an absurd breach of trust. So am I the jerk for immediately firing her over this farewell party that wasn't even real? All right, folks, what do you think?
Not the jerk. She stole company money to throw herself a party. Like, even if she really had been leaving, she probably should have cleared that with OP to get the funds. Like, usually, like, farewell parties are not that extravagant with, like,
Yeah.
a full bartender and everything.
I mean, I've known people who've been at a place for like 20 years and they get
hmm
like a cake.
Yeah, well, every retirement party I've gone to, that's about the extent of it, is the cake and drinks.
Yeah. Not like alcoholic drinks
No,
either.
like sodas. Yeah,
Yeah.
cake and soda.
So I think that her expectation here for herself was like way out there to begin with, and then on top of that, with her whole, this whole manipulation, right, where
hmm
she's emotionally manipulating her coworkers and to try guilting them into like begging them to stay and whatnot, right?
Right. Like she has shown that she does not have good judgment for this position and she should not be in a position where she can access company resources.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a really good point you bring up is that if she continues to work at this job, what other ways will she try to embezzle funds, right? And I think that's important to consider because this is embezzlement,
hmm
right? This is clearly using funds for her own purpose, and that can get the company into a lot of trouble.
Yeah, well, and what else is she going to do for her mental health, in quotes? Because, it just seems like she wants to throw an extravagant party. Like, if she's having mental health struggles, maybe utilize counseling services
Yeah.
if their health plan offers it. But, like, that doesn't give you carte blanche to just use company funds to throw yourself a party to cheer yourself up.
Yeah, I mean, certainly therapy is a good way to go if you're experiencing, feelings of inadequacy, right? And it sounds like that might be where she is at, right? And talking to a therapist and working through those feelings. But throwing yourself a party on someone else's dime to make yourself feel better, to have people like beg you to stay, that's not the way to go. It's in poor taste.
Right, and then to try and frame it as like a team building bonding exercise too, on top of that, like I think, she's just throwing whatever she can at it to try and make it sound like it was important. Like, how are you team building by telling everyone, I'm quitting, we're having a giant party for me?
Mm-hmm. The answer is that you can't, right? This is, it's just an absurd situation. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And Cursed 818 says, not the jerk, report her to the police for fraud or theft. Pursue the amount that she spent in court. Ask a lawyer if you can respond on social media that she stole $2,000 from your business. If he says go ahead, do it, and reconsider if you want to be friends with people who seriously think that you should allow yourself and your business to be abused like that. Why don't they want you to stand up for yourself? Are they similarly used to taking advantage of you? And OP replies, I'd like to thank everyone who responded and shared their opinions. I've decided not to take legal action against Lily because the $2,000 isn't worth the stress of keeping her in my life. I see the $2,000 as the cost of her exit from the job. Well, what do you think about that?
I mean, I think OP's it's fair not to pursue legal action if they don't want to. I do think it would be a good idea though to do something about the social media if she is blasting OP continuously.
Yeah.
To maybe meet with a lawyer and draft some kind of company statement about the nature of events that went down to make it clear that the employee's interpretation of events is very skewed.
What do you think that this could have? Do you think that this could have an impact on the company's reputation?
It could, like, it depends on what her social media following is like and what is actually she's saying. Because it does not seem like she's giving people the full picture of, I stole $2,000 to throw myself a party. And so that's why I would recommend like drafting it with someone who is familiar with like the legalities of this kind of thing and knows how to word something very diplomatically if it's going to be an official company statement.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really where I was going with this as well. And I mean, I think this OP needs to take time to protect her company. Like, there are a lot of employees whose jobs are on the line. So if, for instance, word gets out that OP's a soulless boss or whatever, right? Other people might not want to do business with OP. And that could be detrimental to the bottom line, which means then it might impact your other employees that are still at the company. And I think that's really important to consider when you have a situation like this. So a cease and desist would be a really good idea. Suing for libel if she continues to do this and causes actual monetary damages. All right, folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a jerk for refusing to pay for my friend's dinner after he changed his order last minute? So I'm a 27-year-old male, and I invited my friend, a 28-year-old male, to dinner at a nicer restaurant last weekend. We were both in the mood for something a little more upscale, but I still wanted to keep it relatively affordable. We talked about it beforehand, and I suggested a couple of places that weren't too pricey, and my friend seemed on board. Well, when we get there, we both ordered dishes that we thought were reasonably priced. I was planning to pay for the meal since I had some extra cash, and I thought that it would be a nice thing to do. Nothing crazy, just a chill dinner. When the waiter came, my friend ordered a mid-ranged entree, but then the waiter came back for drinks, and he suddenly asked for a really expensive cocktail, way more than I was getting. After the waiter left, he also added an appetizer that was even pricier than the drink. I started feeling uncomfortable because the total was quickly adding up to way more than I had expected. It was way over what we had talked about. When the bill came, I mentioned to my friend that it was more than I had planned, and he just shrugged and said, You said you would pay though. At that point, I felt kind of stuck, but I didn't think that it was fair for me to cover the whole thing when he changed his order so much. So I told him that I wasn't paying for everything and that he should cover his own meal. He got really upset, saying that I was breaking my word and making him look bad in front of the waiter. He ended up paying for his portion, but things were super awkward and now he's been acting distant. Am I the jerk for refusing to pay for his part of the dinner after he changed his order? I feel like I was being reasonable, but now I'm wondering if I handled it wrong. All right, folks, what do you think?
Not the jerk. It seems like the friend was taking advantage of OP's kindness. He was fine to order within his budget when he thought he was paying for it, but as soon as OP is like, hey, I can cover this, he tacks on a really expensive cocktail and appetizer.
Yeah, I'm a little bit mixed on this, right? Certainly, I don't think that OP is in the wrong fully. And so where I'm kind of going is that OP should have waited until after when the check arrived to offer to pay. And the reason why is because if you say that you're going to pay for someone's meal, then you kind of have to have the expectation that they're going to be able to order what they want to order, right? And not kind of backpedal if they start ordering things that are more expensive. So if you've kind of told someone ahead of time, then they start to order more. I feel like in this particular case, it sounds like they told them during the time where the drinks were coming back. And then he was like, oh, well, I'm just going to go ahead and order this and this. So it feels like a little bit of a jerk move because it was clear that OP said this in a way where they were expecting just to pay for the entree type of situation. I think at that point in time, OP could have even clarified and said, "Oh, I'm just getting your entree."
I mean, I think it's fair that OP could have clarified when the friends started adding other things, but I also think that in some ways it's a good litmus test of like your friend, like how much they value you. It's very
Hmm.
clear that he saw OP as a piggy bank in this case, you
Yeah.
know. And so I think there's a general expectation when you are going out to eat with someone that you will get similarly priced dishes and that, you know, they won't take advantage of your kindness.
Yeah.
And the friend very clearly here did that exact thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the friend is totally a jerk in this situation. Like, they took advantage of OP's kindness. I feel like what they did was rude if they went ahead and tacked more things onto their order after the fact. And certainly, like, that's, I think we were both on the same page with that. And I don't know to what degree OP themselves would be, in the wrong here, because I feel for them, I really do. But they also kind of gave them the opportunity to know that they were getting their stuff paid for, and maybe they misunderstood or misinterpreted the situation. So I don't know. It's hard, right? Amber's like, no, it's not. It's easy.
Well, I mean, I just would, just the way I was raised, like I would never order something expensive when someone else's dime, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I would have ordered the BLT, which is the cheapest item on the menu.
Grilled cheese or mac and cheese.
Yeah,
I'm ordering from the kids menu because that's what I like anyway, but
yeah. Well, I mean, I remember when I was a kid here, and we didn't have a whole lot of money, and so when we went to restaurants, my thing was that I would always look kind of at the menu and order the cheapest thing on the menu because like I knew my parents didn't have a lot of money, and so I always felt guilty for ordering anything beyond the cheapest item on the menu.
yeah, I mean, I was similar, and some of that was that there were not a lot of vegetarian options in the 90s, so a lot of times I just get stuck with salads anyway, and there wasn't a choice, but I wouldn't buy extras because I'd feel bad about it.
Yeah. And Tempting Penguin 369 says, everyone's in the wrong. You not so much though. Never announce before the meal that you're paying. It only encourages moochers like your friend to spend more than they would have if they thought that they were paying. And if it's a surprise at the end of the evening, it ends on a high note. Your friend is the main jerk, both for his deplorable behavior and the fact that he didn't offer to at least cover his cocktail and starter. And I will point out that that one is actually a downvoted comment. So it looks like my view is not very popular. And OP replies, I agree, I realize this now, making it a surprise in the future. And Hessian Vega says, not the jerk, your friend is a cheapskate and clearly trying to abuse your wallet. And OP replies, yeah, I can see that now, not sure how I didn't see it before. I mean, clearly this isn't a good friend.
No.
Maybe OP should reconsider this friendship. And Resolve Resident 118 says there are two types of people in this world. One, those who order more when the bill is being paid by someone else, and those who order less when the bill is being paid by someone else. The first type are jerks. And OP replies, agreed. Feels very relevant to this
Yeah,
conversation.
it does.
All right, folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Asking My Mom to Text Before Coming Into My Home? I'm a 26-year-old female, and I live with my partner, a 25-year-old male, about 3 hours away from my parents. Today, my parents were coming to visit and celebrate my birthday. They said that they would get to the house between 3 and 4, so my partner and I planned a lunch with his parents for earlier in the afternoon. About 2 p.m., I get a Life 360 notice, and I check the app, and my parents have been at my house for about a half hour. Some context. I tend to feel a bit more sensitive around needing to feel that my home is my space. When we moved in, my mom wanted a key, but I wanted the decision of spare keys to be made between me and my partner and asked her to wait and let us talk about it. She went out that afternoon and made herself a key along with several others which she gave to different family members that she felt should have keys. So I'm already a bit more sensitive to feeling a need to have control around my home. Anyways, today I called my mom and I tried to keep things light by laughing and saying, "Oh mom, you know you're supposed to text me before you just go in, silly." But I could tell that this upset her and she said that she didn't know that that was a rule. I was smiling and I was trying to stay light, and I said, "That's okay. In the future, can you just text me when you get there and when you're going in if we're not home?" I tried to make some other small talk, but she was upset, and so we hung up. I received a text shortly after saying along the lines of, "I do not feel welcome at your house, and so I'm leaving. I would never ask you to text me before coming into my home. We will be leaving the cupcakes and a gift. We are going to see your brother, and then we will be going home. I feel sick and anxious. I'm not sure if this is an unreasonable boundary to set, though I did try to be as kind and lighthearted as possible with it. I love my mom and all she does for me. At the same time, this is also my partner's home. To me, I feel respected and recognized as an individual when my parents just let me know that they have arrived and are going in when I'm not home. I will be talking this through with my psychologist, but in the meantime, am I the jerk?" All right, folks, what do you think?
No, not the jerk. And honestly, I think it may be time to change your locks. It's very clear that your mom does not respect your reasonable boundaries. Not wanting your parent to have a key to your house without consulting your partner is very reasonable. But your mom not only copied a key for herself, but for other family members she thought should have access to your house.
Yeah.
Now a bunch of people have access to your house whenever they want, and you have no control over it.
Yeah.
You're well within your right to feel upset about that and to want to protect your space. And it's also perfectly reasonable to want a text before someone goes into your home. And so I think your mom is trying to emotionally manipulate you and make you feel guilty for wanting to have boundaries.
Yeah.
And this was a good thing to talk about with your therapist. I'm glad you're going to do that. And maybe your therapist can help you figure out a way to start setting these boundaries and push back against your mom's emotional manipulation. It may be time to take a time out for her for a little while until she can recognize that it's perfectly healthy for her children to have their own private spaces.
Yeah. I mean, I think maybe OP's texts came across to the mom maybe as a little bit patronizing, and that's probably part of the reason why she would be a little upset. But I don't think that OP did anything wrong in this situation. I think that OP has a very reasonable boundary here. I think that they've set very reasonable boundaries, and that the mother is trying to is upset because OP is enforcing those boundaries. Now, it's hard to know exactly how to text somebody or how to, talk. I guess it wasn't a text, though, but a conversation rather over the phone. And it's difficult because, like, you're trying to signal to your mom that, "Oh, hey, I have this boundary. Can you please respect it?" And she turns it around and says, "Well, I wouldn't expect you to do the same." Well, but she doesn't have the same boundaries, and she has to understand that OP is a different person from her, that they don't share the same boundaries, that they don't share the same, life, right? That they're not the same person.
Well, and I also feel like it's a little different too, like a home that someone bought separately as an adult on their own versus their childhood home. Because, like, going into my parents' house, I'm not going to knock because it's kind of the policy, like the kids are just kind of always welcome type of situation. And I know not every family has that.
Yeah.
But, it's the house I grew up in. So even though I don't live there anymore, it's still like kind of my home. Whereas OP's mom did not, live in this house, does not have any claim to the house. And so I feel like it's not even the same type of situation.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I had a key to my mom's house, and, the thing is, I would never have walked in on my mom's house without knocking first or letting her know ahead of time, right? And I think that that's a very reasonable boundary that's set, right? I don't think that that's an unreasonable thing. And I'm not saying that your situation is the same as mine. I think that your parents have a different philosophy of kind of an open door, and that's every family is going to have different dynamics. Every person is going to have their own unique set of boundaries.
Well, I also don't drop in unannounced. Like, they'd know I was coming, but I don't feel the need to, like, knock on the door before I go in.
Yeah. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And Clovo Mar says, "Not the jerk. I understand that some families tend to bend boundaries, but making key copies without your permission and give them out to other family members? Way no. I'm a little confused about the first part, though, because that sounds like it could have been a miscommunication. Was it that she assumed that you would still be out at lunch when they arrived? Or you thought that you would be home by the time that they arrived, but then they arrived early and then let themselves in? Either way, you communicated your boundaries clearly after the fact, but it doesn't sound like your mom took it well. And OP replies, to clarify, I didn't let them know that we would be out for lunch, since we had planned to be back before they would get there. I think they assumed that we would be here and just came in when we weren't in, which I do understand. Thank you for your reply. And then OP was downvoted for that comment quite a bit. I'm not sure I understand that. And Imontes says, I'm wondering if you should have discussed boundaries with her after she made keys and handed them out to worthy family members. Who does that for someone else's home? Overall, not the jerk. It's rude to assume someone can just waltz in at any time. And OP replies, I definitely should have. I think that I knew that at the time, but I just felt too anxious to mention it. I should definitely learn how to communicate boundaries better. Thank you, though. All right, folks, it is tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I've got some tea right here, and Amber, she has a joke.
Why did the cactus cross the road?
Well, I can tell you exactly why the cactus crossed the road, because I have a lot of good cactus friends. It crossed the road because it was escorting the tumbleweed across.
It was stuck to the chicken.
It was stuck to the chicken? Yeah, I mean, that's similar to a couple of those crossing the road jokes that I've heard before. Why'd the chicken cross the road? To get to the other side. Why'd the frog cross the road? Because it was stapled to the chicken.
Oof, that's like the cactus. I kind of get because but that's animal cruelty right there.
Well, I mean, how much better is that than being stabbed with a bunch of spines from a cactus to cross the road?
Looks like this chicken here has some kind of like coat on or something, so I'm assuming it's stuck to the coat.
Well, then maybe the frog is just stapled to the coat.
But it's going through like the frog's feet somehow.
No, it's stapled through their coat as well.
Okay.
So it's there's no animal cruelty here. They're both just glued to each other in some way. And I have the special guest tea, the matcha. All right, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Happy terrific Tuesday, folks. I hope your Tuesday is off to a great start. Amber, we need some kind of moral advice and or guidance. And please, pretty please, have it on embezzlement.
Don't.
Yeah, don't embezzle funds from companies. Imagine that. You might keep your job. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye.